In August 2018, 27-year-old Mike moved to the big city on his own to work hard. He successfully found a job with a monthly salary of 6,132 yuans. 30-year-old Anna, an experienced employee, looked after Mike quite a bit. The two soon became well acquainted and good friends. One day in November, Anna suddenly asked Mike for a loan, saying her son had fallen ill and was in the hospital. She urgently needed money and promised to repay him within a month. Knowing how hard life is for a single mom, Mike immediately transferred her 16,000 yuans for emergency use. But a month went by, and Anna still showed no sign of repaying. Whenever Mike asked for the money, she always found excuses to delay. When Mike approached her again about the loan, Anna outright told him, "I don't have the money to repay you." She added, "How about I become your girlfriend to pay off the debt?" Mike saw that Anna seemed serious. Feeling lonely in the city, he impulsively agreed to this strange proposal. Caught up in the moment, he agreed to start this unusual arrangement. That night, he and Anna got together. After that, they became bolder, and an improper relationship developed between them. He had forgotten that he already had a wife and child at home. In January 2019, Anna claimed she was pregnant and asked Mike for money for surgery. This made Mike suddenly realize how morally wrong this relationship was. He didn't want to ruin his marriage. To resolve things peacefully, he transferred Anna 30,000 yuans and broke things off. Anna also left the company and moved to another city. Mike thought this unfortunate affair was over, but 2 months later, Anna called him again, claiming she felt unwell after the surgery and needed money. Mike refused to keep sending money, ignoring her requests. But as soon as he returned home for the spring festival, Anna messaged him again claiming, "I have uterine cancer. The surgery caused it. I can't afford treatment, and you're responsible." Mike was shocked, but he doubted her story. He didn't want to engage further. Then, Anna sent another message. "If you won't take responsibility, I'll go to your hometown and ask your wife for money. You forced me to do this." Mike immediately panicked. He loved his wife deeply. If this got out, his family would be ruined. He quickly transferred another 30,000 yuans. After that, using various excuses like "ush money," Anna started demanding more and more money from him. When Mike couldn't pay, she threatened that her family would show up at his door. If they didn't get the money, they'd retaliate, taking it all down with them. Mike was terrified. He scrambled to gather money, ultimately transferring 800,000 yuans to Anna into payments. He got this money through credit cards and online loan platforms. Anna's relentless pressure became too much for Mike to handle. He finally decided to come clean to his wife. His wife couldn't accept this betrayal and immediately filed for divorce, taking their son with her back to her family. In just one night, Mike lost everything. He decided to confront Anna about the debt, but when he arrived at Anna's hometown, he discovered that it was all an elaborate lie by Anna, and her family knew nothing about it. Anna had gambled away all the money she had extorted from him. Enraged, Mike immediately reported her to the police. Anna was soon arrested by the authorities. The police investigation revealed that her claims of needing abortions, medical treatment, and other excuses were all fabricated. It was confirmed that Anna had committed fraud. Her fraud amounted to over 500,000 yuan, falling under Article 266 of the Criminal Code, indicating a particularly large sum. Thus, she would face over 10 years of imprisonment, along with fines. Regardless of gender, everyone should maintain self-discipline. Don't let a fleeting moment of excitement ruin your life. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Just arrived in the big city to try his luck. Ethan is only 18 years old. With limited education, he often faces rejections when job hunting. One day, by chance, Ethan met 47-year-old Mrs. Thompson online. They hit it off during their chats. Mrs. Thompson's relationship with her husband was dull. In recent years, she felt an inner emptiness and often wanted something to vent her feelings. In this situation, she met the young and passionate Ethan. After seeing Ethan's photos online, Mrs. Thompson was moved. In her view, although Ethan had nothing, he was young, healthy, and good-looking. That was enough for Ethan. Although Mrs. Thompson was nearly 50, she had money. Wasn't this an opportunity? After spending some time together, Mrs. Thompson felt that being with Ethan made her feel young in body and spirit, so she became increasingly fond of him. Mrs. Thompson told Ethan to stop working and stay with her. She would provide for him. Ethan had no higher education, nor any special skills. Earning money in the big city wasn't easy, so he quickly agreed. Thus, these two, nearly 30 years apart, struck a deal on this matter and quickly entered a kept relationship. To make Ethan stay willingly, she gave him a car worth around $30,000. She then let him move into her husband's apartment. It must be said, this wealthy Mrs. Thompson was really bold. She actually dared to live with her lover in her husband's apartment, enjoying a sweet life. Since being with Mrs. Thompson, Ethan experienced the pleasure of living off someone else. He gradually fell in love with this life of unearned rewards and became increasingly greedy. Ethan did not have enough wisdom, but boundless greed. Mrs. Thompson, being fond of him in this new relationship, was foolishly indulgent towards him. Her attitude inflated Ethan's desires to keep Mrs. Thompson by his side forever. The idea was to bond them together for life, like becoming husband and wife with Mrs. Thompson. But in reality, Mrs. Thompson had no real income-generating ability. It was her husband who truly made money. Even the apartment Ethan lived in belonged to Mrs. Thompson's husband. Afterwards, Ethan frequently pressured Mrs. Thompson to divorce so they could be together openly. Mrs. Thompson wasn't foolish either. She wasn't short on money. She could give to Ethan freely because she had a husband who could make money. Moreover, when she chose to be with Ethan, it was purely for mutual enjoyment. She never intended to take responsibility for him. If she got divorced, not only would Ethan lose his current life, but even Mrs. Thompson's own wealthy lifestyle would be at risk. At first, Mrs. Thompson tried to reason gently with Ethan, telling him not to think about unrealistic things. Wasn't life fine as it was now? When Ethan learned Mrs. Thompson wouldn't divorce, he revealed his ugly side. He took out intimate videos of the two of them and threatened Mrs. Thompson. He said if Mrs. Thompson refused to divorce, her husband would see these videos. Mrs. Thompson realized she had invited trouble into her life. An argument broke out between Mrs. Thompson and Ethan. She grabbed the knife from Ethan and accidentally killed him. Afterward, she dismembered him and put his remains in several garbage bags. To evade legal punishment, Mrs. Thompson contacted a driver to help her dump Ethan's body into the sea. A few days after Ethan went missing, his good friend Sam noticed his absence and worried about his safety, so he reported it to the police. The police quickly arrested Mrs. Thompson. During interrogation, Mrs. Thompson confessed to all her crimes. Initially, she was just after novelty. By keeping an 18-year-old like Ethan, she never imagined this affair would end in a bloody tragedy. The once glamorous and wealthy woman, because of an affair that shouldn't have happened, ended up a murderer awaiting judgment in court. After the trial, Mrs. Thompson was sentenced to death. If you want a good life, work hard and strive for it yourself. That's the only way to live with peace of mind. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.